Hello everyone. Hello everyone, those who are live, those who are viewing the webinar. So, we are here once again with a new topic, a new discussion on literature review. So, let's wait, let's see that how many more minutes to go so people more can join and then we can begin with it. So, meanwhile, all of you who are live here can please post their hello, hi, so that we can start chatting in the chat box also. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello. Very good afternoon. Very good afternoon, Dr. Marker. It's wonderful to see you once again with the webinar. Hello, Karthik. Karthik, it would be better that we can type in English. That would be easy for all of us to understand. A very warm welcome to one and all. So let's begin our webinar. So as you all know that these webinars are being conducted by research graduate, and this is a one-stop solution for all your research queries, be it your topic selection, your proposal writing, your review writing, and at any point of your research journey, if you are struggling, if you are having any roadblocks, any bottlenecks you are facing, so you're free to approach, feel free to get connected with the team. And how you can do that? You can do that with the help of these details. You can email your queries at info@researchgraduate.com. The phone numbers are flashing on your screen, and you can browse the website researchgraduate.com so as to know better about the firm. Okay, a very quick discussion on how this webinar is being structured. All of you who are being a regular attendees, they know that we run the webinar for 90 minutes or so, and whatsoever time is being taken for discussion of the topics, followed by a question and answer series, which is not we don't categorically bound it with time. As many questions you'll have, you'll all be answered. As far as the topic PPTs and recordings and certificates are being considered, they will be sent to you on your registered email ID. So please make sure that your email IDs are correct. Plus, very important that the video quality which you are using on YouTube should have been raised to 720p so that you all can have a better experience. However, sometimes the ones who are using with the phone, they can have slight glitch at moments, at instances, right? Okay, so it's time for today to start the webinar. Okay, now see, the topic is about literature review. Okay, now in this era of AI, generative AI, okay, everything is can be very well dwelled upon by ChatGPT, or there are many other softwares. Today, I have included those softwares by which you can generate your literature review, how you can avoid your plagiarism. I have given those softwares also. Now, basically, I was actually preparing in back in my mind that everybody knows that that what is literature review. Everybody knows that. All of you are scholars. Many of you are already an academician. Many of you are in the midst of your PhD journey. Many of you have completed, and many of you are thinking. Okay, but whatsoever is your research status is, I'm sure all of you knows very well about at least what is the concept of literature review. It is nothing but what exactly have been done by the past authors in your domain, in your topic, particularly in the field of research which you have taken. I'm referring to the topic on which you are working. Okay, this is literature review when you prepare a consolidated report on it. Okay, now the point comes here is that this is what I have been hearing from students also, and this is a problem which students are facing as well. Generally what happen is that, literature review is only being considered as concepts, definitions, theories and models. Okay, I am saying only being considered. Okay, these are a part of literature review. Okay, these are a part of, see, I have very clearly mentioned that it is an evaluative report of all the information which you find related to your literature, related to your title or topic which you have chosen for your research in your respective field. Okay, so what all is published, I'm saying, in print or in digital, what all is published is your literature. So now when you say that what all is published is not just limited to definitions, it's not just limited to theories, it's not just limited to the models and the frameworks. I'm saying not just, okay, arguing comments or arguing views by various authors, always consider them also in your literature. Okay, connecting two or more authors, because not necessarily that you have to give all the 4 points related to your research topic which you have chosen. Many authors would have gone against related to that topic or the variables you have chosen. You may consider that also in your literature. That also becomes a part of the literature. Why I'm raising this point is because I have come through this question with a couple of students, that will it be, because this is something which is not in sync with our topics. When say sync, as in which it is not something in for to our topic. So will it be a part of literature? Yes, you may. Depending upon your objective, you should consider those arguing comments of previous authors, because what will happen is it will give you an elaborative view of your literature. Okay, so literature is altogether, all of you know what is literature, and that's what I have defined the literature also, that basically you are giving an overview of the sources which are reflecting your knowledge, how well you have dwelled upon the previous researches. Now, a very practical problem, and any of you, if you relate with this problem, please drop down your concerns in the chat box. That I have seen couple of scholars that they make a very good start with their PhDs, with their thesis, project thesis, even in their master's thesis as well. Data collection is not a problem for them. Okay, even data analysis is not a problem. Where the problem comes in is that, firstly, looking for this literature. Okay, second, extracting information from that literature. See, when you are reading a particular paper, when you are reviewing a particular paper, I should use the word reviewing. When you're reviewing a particular paper, it's not just that entire paper is of your use. Not necessarily that entire paper you need to mention in your literature review. Probably a couple of sections, or a particular definitions, or a particular methodology point. It may be a part of. It may take place in your literature. Now, the point is that you should be very careful that, firstly, categorize your literature. Okay, then you should be very careful that which particular section of this paper is of my use. Okay, so what happened, I was saying that many scholars I have seen that for them conducting literature review is a problem, because generally what literature review is being considered as that reading past papers, that is the main literature understanding is generally in the scholars, which is, I would not say wrong, but it is partial, it is not complete. See, it's not only about reading past papers, it's not only about that, it's about that how you maintain a consistency about previous discussions on your topic and give it to your reader. Okay, and there has to be a proper alignment also. So I am saying that if some author said that, so find out, let's say if an author gave a definition, then find aligning literature, find aligning paper who are on the same page with that definition. One paragraph is clear. Okay, come on to another part of the literature. You probably are discussing one model of the framework. You may come across paper which are saying that yes, this framework is well discussing the variables. You may come across paper that no, this particular framework lacking the particular variables. Consider, or you may consider, both of the literature. So literature is not just restricted to defining definitions or models or framework. It actually elaborates your thoughts process, your understanding about the topic. Do it very well. And when you do it, how to make it concise, that also I'll tell you, because that's a problem which many students come across with. Okay. Okay, now this is what I would like to talk about here, that what are the quality features of a quality literature review. See, it is very clear it should be comprehensive, it should be up to date, no plagiarism, well written. But how? Question comes how. Let me take it one by one. So when you say comprehensive, so literature review, the length of literature review varies from the project to project. If it's a thesis, if it's a PhD thesis, so your literature review is a chapter. So that depends upon how extensive literature review should be furnished to your thesis, but it's a chapter, so at least 8 to 10 to 12 pages should have been there, right, depending upon the total thesis you have, number of chapters you have in that. Okay, so it's quite a obvious understanding that when you are writing a literature review for your thesis, it has to be well elaborative, it has to be well discussed, and it has to be featuring each and every aspect of the literature. Okay, most importantly, that you should not and you can't afford to ignore some of the important literatures to your of your topic. I'm saying in context of your thesis. Okay, now coming to the context of your review papers, research papers. Now, review paper, research papers doesn't give you a um, scope, or it doesn't give you an free hand of writing a very elaborative literature review. Okay, so that then in that case you have to discuss that what are the important underpinnings. Now when I say underpinnings, what are the important identified variables I need to talk about? So straight start talking about them. Okay, so automatically when you are writing a PhD thesis, your discussion will be elaborative, and when you are writing a research paper, your discussion will be shrinked, but focusing on the main aspects. I would appreciate, Preeti, that if we can limit the question, if we can take back to the questions to the end of the webinar, that will be really good. However, I'll keep a note on answering your question. Okay, so it has to be comprehensive. So comprehensive means depending upon the project you are doing, please decide that how much elaborative you do. When it comes to up to date references, now it's a very important thing. If it's a very important framework definition, any important literature which you need to quote and it is old, okay, all right, just fine. For example, in management, there are a couple of frameworks like Maslow's hierarchy, Lewin's model of change. They are pretty old. However, they are still they still hold their relevance. And when people are talking about change, people are talking about motivation, so authors, researchers do decide to talk about these models. Okay. However, your entire literature cannot afford to be filled with these backdated literature. So, when we say that the literature should be up to date, means at max 10 to 12 years. Recent literature. Now, when you are choosing a topic for your research, It is always suggested that don't go for a very, very nascent, untouched topic, because then you may not find um, appropriate literature. However, I slightly differ from this, that you may not find literature in those cases in the form of research papers. However, you may find literature in those cases in the form of reports, okay, some sort of cases. So that also can furnish you for literature sources, okay. Needless to say that there is no plagiarism, that I'll talk about during the end of this webinar at length, that how you can avoid it and what is it exact, and references should also be given. So all that I'll be talking about at the end of this webinar. So just making a point that your literature review should not look like a story to the reader. Most importantly, whatever variables you have chosen in your study should be clearly reflective through your literature. So if I'm as a reviewer, if I'm as a reader, is going through your work, I should be able to understand that, this is this entire thesis is an interplay between these variables. So this is independent, this is dependent. So you should be able to reflect your variable discussions very well in your literature. Okay. Okay. Now, this very basic thing, that what is the objectives of literature review. In my opinion, the most important objective is that you highlight the gaps in the research which you are focusing. Now, understand what is a gap. Many of you would be having a good understanding about it. Many may not be having a good understanding about it. So let's understand. So you decide to work in the field of early education. Early education means the teachers who are being trained to teach at kinder level. You decide that I want to focus on that area. Okay, fine. Now you have seen that many authors have worked upon that, how effective training is being given to these teachers, how technological oriented training is being given to these teachers. However, you have not focused, or many of the authors have not focused one aspect of this topic of the training given to early education teachers, that how are they trained to understand the behavior of kids who need special attention, okay, of special needs. Now see, understand, how do you get to know when you decided your topic, that this is what I'm interested in? And many a times you decide your topic also by reading various research proceedings, various research papers, okay. So you get to know that a lot of work is being done on how trainings are being given, how effective these trainings are, how ineffective these trainings are. But none of the authors has been focused so far that how well these trainings are inclined towards the teacher's development, so as to prepare them to take care of specially kids who needs special attention. Okay, so this is the gap you have found in the literature, and you decided that I need to work on that. I need to focus on that aspect of the teacher's training, that whether it is planned in a way where the teachers are well trained enough to take care of specially needs kids and to tackle their behavior. Okay, so this is a particular aspect you decided to work on. Okay, so this is the gap you found out. How did you find out? You find out when you went through a lot of literature, when you read articles, when you read cases, when you read reports. So you found out that there are problems, there are cases where kids who need special attention during their for their behavioral orientation are not being tackled well by the teachers. But you have found out that there is no much discussion in the literature on the same, and you decide to work on that. This is how you find out the research gap. Okay, so basically, your literature is aimed to showcase this gap, which is eventually your problem area you're working on, which eventually giving rise to your research questions, which eventually giving rise to your research objectives, which is making you aware that what kind of variables you are working on. Okay, so it's not just that focusing on what had happened, what had happened. So your literature should be in such a way that this is what all have happened, and this is what should have been focused on, which my research will be working on. Okay, so you need to focus that what have been done, what should have been done, and what I am doing on. Okay, so this is what main area of literature. So basically, you every author has a different way of writing literature. uh, Somebody starts straight away with theory, somebody starts straight away with defining. So one thumb rule which I follow, and I suggest students to do that, always start with discussion on the literature of defining the concepts, where you have chosen the various authors discussing about the concepts first, so that your reader, so that your reviewer is well aware that this is what I need to know, or this is what I can expect in less rest of the literature. Okay, so this is what main objective is. Okay, now let's come for the sources of literature review. Now today you have ample of resources. I mean, when I say ample of resources, so there are lot many. I mean, traditional way, when we used to do our we did our thesis or we did our research, so there was times when we were only limited to certain sources of literature, and many of them were only in the physical form. Now the digital form of literature is being enlarged so much, because of which what has happened is that you have got the access of not only which is you know subscription based, you need to buy it, but also which is open for all. So you can get the access for even reports, which you can get the access for, let's say somebody is working who can find the reports from UN. All this is accessible because the digital pathway has been open. Now nevertheless, the sources for literature review, needless to say, I found one of the biggest sources for literature is your books, is your books. So books also you need not to have only in the physical form, but also you have in the digital forms as well, the PDF copy. So I have quoted down the some of the open libraries for you. Some of the reference materials you can also find in the form of encyclopedias, which I've also given with the link. Now one thing here to be noted down is that Wikipedia is not a source of literature, and I tell this possibly in every webinar that kindly don't um, take Wikipedia as a source of webinar, as a source of literature, because that information is editable firstly, and that information is not from the authentic sources of literature. Okay, so that is not to be trusted upon, because if you are taking something from Wikipedia, it can be easily questioned. Okay, and by God forbid, if that information is being already edited on the website itself, then you'll be in soup. Okay, so try and go for some authentic sources of reliable sources of literature review, but not the Wikipedia. Okay, some others are these are the journals which I have given the uh, link also. Now these are basically the open sources, open journal, which does not require your subscription. Most importantly, conference papers are very good source of literature. Now why? Because these conferences are being organized, are being scheduled on the latest theme. What is happening, what is the trend of that particular field in which you're working on, these conferences are being organized on that latest theme. So the following the proceedings of these conferences will, firstly, they also help you in highlighting the research idea on which you can work, plus what all is being discussed by previous authors. So you'll get to know that these papers have been discussed, these papers have been discussed, so you can get access of those papers and add into your literature. Okay. Next is your dissertation and thesis. Now, I have given two particularly very important, very popular link for your dissertation and thesis access. Now, these are Shodh Ganga and EBSCO Open Dissertation. Now, these are basically now how dissertations are important, can serve as a important source of literature, because somebody who has written a dissertation or a PhD thesis, he or she has worked on a repository of literature. Okay, so you find the right dissertation for your or related to your topic, dwell upon the literature which the author has given, and plus go back to the references which he or she has furnished at the end of the thesis and the dissertation. So that one dissertation opens the gate for you to a repository of lot of literature review. You're getting my point? So it's always advisable, it's always suggestive to go for and look for dissertations who are published, who has an extensive detailed literature served for your discussion. Okay. Yeah, internet, obviously, there's a lot of scope on internet on getting on your uh, literature. However, go for the authentic one only. All right. Now, here are I have given certain tools for your. Just a second. I have given certain tools for your AI literature review. Now, basically, these tools, because like I said in the starting only, that the world is AI driven. Okay. Now, what happened is that the discussion which I just had on the uh, literature source is, is more or less a combination of uh, latest and the traditional way of literature. Here, what I have given you a complete list of AI, not the complete, I should say that, but a step by step toolkit for the modern researchers. Now, basically, these are the different tools by AI by which you can make use of them and can have a proper literature generated for you. Like, for example, you can use these ones for your literature research. Like semantic solver is very popular one. It is a free tool. People use Google Scholar. Now, better than Google Scholar, an advanced version, you can say that, is semantic solver. Now, these AI tools will ease out your work. Like with Jenny, it can help you to write Gen AI. It can actually pronounce it, but in common we say that Jenny. So it helps you to write that literature review. Now, taking help from AI is something which you can definitely can consider. However, how to not fall into the trap of plagiarism, that we will discuss. Okay. So, perplexity, many of you must have heard of. It's an app, AI tool which is chat based, which is which delivers you the answer of questions which you have related to your literature search. Okay, so this is a concise summary of the tools which you can use for your literature review, and it is a step by step guide. Like, you can start with just literature search, then knowledge map, then reading papers, then how till writing. Okay. Now, again, this is a list of AI tools for your literature review, because I thought that, today, obviously, you just can't avoid talking about AI. You just can't say that, we don't work on AI. So it's important to know about some of the important tools which can help you for literature review. See, here I would like to quote one thing there. Using AI is okay. However, till what extent, till what way, in which way, how much you can do that, that is something is completely depend upon the discretion of the researcher. Because if you don't draw that line for you, that till this point, like for example, idea generation, please go ahead. Structuring, please go ahead. Sometimes you may use it for outlining your paper also. Please go ahead. But if you say that AI tools can actually, just completely reproduce literature review or my work from myself, and I don't do anything on that, that is not acceptable. Not only here in this part of the world from where I'm delivering this webinar, but anywhere, because AI usage should be clearly understand that, you can take help in terms of idea generation, you can take help in structuring, formatting. You need to see that till what extent the AI usage is acceptable from the institution I'm associated with. This is very important. So this is, researchers discretion, plus this is also the institutions acceptability, that how much the use of AI is, and what percentage is is acceptable. Okay. Okay. Now, since you all know, have got the access of AI tools, so they do the needful for you. However, the traditional form of the traditional way of selecting literature is also should be known to you. Reason being, because whatever information is being fed on the on these AI softwares, not always is the one which is being required by you. And I have seen this happening in many cases, that students take the material from AI generated softwares, but is this really needed? I mean, is this really what make sense to my material? Is this really made sense to the research which I'm doing? So that is something which a researcher's discretion needs to be applied there. Okay. Like for example, you should, when you are searching, when you are making an effective search, you should be very clear that you should have clear understanding of your keywords. That understanding comes from that, when you know that what kind of research topic I want to work on, what is my main idea, what is the concept of theory I want to cover in. Now, this main idea can be taken a help of with AI. That can be done. However, but what is, the kind of questions I want to work on, what are the variables I can expect to be identified with. So that all search narrows down to your right kind of keyword search. Okay. So if you are looking, because this keyword, the permutation combination of these keywords will give you the right kind of literature. Now, these keywords are also important when you are making a literature search through AI softwares, because whatever you will feed in them, whatever you will uh, tell these softwares to find the material on, is that something which you know the software will generate the information. You getting my point? So feeding the right kind of information, feeding the right kind of keywords is very important, so that you get the targeted information even through the AI generated softwares. Okay. Then try to connect your search words. This is, I mean, you can say that this is important from with the perspective that you are looking for the literature through the softwares which are AI generated also. So you need to play around, you need to know how to play around with the um, search words. Okay, try to connect different search words together so as to get the wider research. Now see, this, always remember that if you have a wide literature searched with you, you will be easily be able to narrow it down. If you'll start with a narrowed research, that will be really difficult for you eventually to generate a developed literature search out of that. You get my point? So it is basically how well you decide upon your keywords, how well you connect those keywords will actually reflect down on your search. Okay, then the database limiters. These database limiters are these are like very very easy. I should say that they're like online shopping filters. Which brand, which size, which price, which colors, these are like database filters. So if, which year, which particular theme, any particular author if you have. So what happen, peer reviewed journals or any publication title if you have particularly, so this will actually hit the bullseye. It will give you the right. Every journal database they have, like Scopus, EBSCO, they have this database filters in them, limiters in them, which will allow you to give the um, targeted material on the literature. Okay, then comes truncation. Truncation basically is that symbol that any word related to this particular word, if it is coming in the research, it will come into your final research, it will come into your search, like child. So any research which has a related word like children, it will not filter till the word child. It will give you the researches which have the word called children as well. Okay, like refuel, so refueling will also be coming into your search, refueled will also coming into your search. So this truncation actually helps to elaborate your search. Okay, all right, now moving on. This is very very important. Now even you can apply it, or I think you should apply it in AI generated literature review also. See, I am, maybe you will think that I am talking more on context of AI generated because this today is the world of AI generated work, but I am also focusing on that how you should apply your discretion as a researcher, that is it a right work or not. Okay, because this has happened that when we go across to the assignments of students, which where it is clearly seen that it is AI generated. Okay, so till certain percentage assignments can be developed with the help of taking information from AI. Okay, now AI is giving you some source. You need to be so sure that whether this source is accurate or not, whether the quoted source by AI is actually the one which is giving you the information which is required by you. You getting my point? So it is very important to get the sources checked. Plus, look for the author, the affiliation of the author, because this has been seen, this has been observed multiple times that wrong sources are being given by AI. Okay, so what is the kind of, because see, these softwares have the information which is being fed to them. Now your research is very specific to the factors, to the variables which you are working on. If these softwares does not have that direct information, they will give you the matching information. So how much that matching, and understand this thing, how much that matching information is of your use is your discretion as a researcher. You need to make sure that whatever I am putting into my paper, whatever I'm putting into my research is something which makes sense. In short, is something which makes sense to my research. Is not that, blind eye and you're just putting it up. No. Okay. Okay. Now, you have a lot of work done on literature. Now, since now, till now, we have discussed search, 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 search. Okay. Now, the point is that you have a lot of information which is spreaded all over your laptop. What this happens, right? When you are a new researchers, you have so many folders, you have so many papers. Now, there are many softwares to summarize this literature also, which I have talked about it. Make use of those softwares. Softwares like Zotero and Mendeley, they will help you in organizing your references. Now the question comes here that how when I'm writing my literature, or what kind of organization rule, what kind of organizing rule I can follow. Like right there in front of you, there are three types of way to organize the literature. One is organizing as per on the basis of chronology of events. Now this says that, now depends upon the topic you are working on. Again, I'm saying, so if you are working on something which is showing the evolution, okay, a particular evolution is being shown, or you're reflecting on something which is where you are tracking down the events, so then chronology of events can be followed up. So you can discuss the literature in the form of years of publication. So it can be from the latest to the past, or from the past to the latest. So that one way is to organize the literature. Another way of organizing the literature is by publication. Now, when you say by publication, so basically you are focusing on not on the year of their publication. I am saying the content of their publication. Okay, now which is basically, let's say, most important trend or most important publication in that topic, discussing that first, then the next one, then the next one. Okay, so that ways you choose the discussion of the literature on the basis of the importance of the publication. Okay, then comes which is methodological, where it says that you are talking about the literature review, you are organizing about the literature review, where your stress is on how the authors have taken different methodologies. For example, we were talking about the early education, impact of early education training on teachers, and that how they take care of the special needs of the kids. Okay, now you this is your research gap. Now you will see that when you go through the literature review, you will find that there was a qualitative survey done of the teachers where they have discussed that trainings are effective. However, another author in so and so year conducted similar studies by quantitative methods, has contrasting results. So here you are focusing on that how different studies followed by different or conducted by different research methodology gave different results. You got my point? So here your focus is on discussing the methodology, then literature which is being discussed from methodological perspective, and how different research methods are probably producing same results or different results, and so on. This is one way. Now another way is very, I would say that I follow it, that is organizing a literature review by variables, according to the variables. So once you are done with the literature review, you get to identify your variables on which you are going to work with your research. Okay, so here what happened is that you organize your literature review on the basis of the variables you have identified. So first you'll talk about one variable, then you'll talk about another one, related literature, to that particular variable, related literature to that particular variable. So that ways you tend to work on different variables and organize your literature according to that. Okay, even I also follow this way of organizing literature in my works. Okay, so next is, you have organized the literature review as well. Next is research gap, which I have already discussed about. I have given you the hint also. Now, in a nutshell, basically, literature research gap is an area which is not discussed, been discussed in the past, which is a problem, and it requires to be studied, and you choose to work on that. It can be similar topic like other author, but other researcher, but that researcher worked on A region and you want to work on B region. Yes, it can be a research gap. That there is no study on similar topic has been done in this particular region. Okay, so a research gap is something which is an area which is missed or it is not been addressed. Okay, now for example, there is a topic which has been taken as a title, in post career study among school students in India. Like, what the research aim is, this research is particularly trying to find out that how the students who are being forced to take certain career options, that you have to become teacher, lawyer, engineer, or scientist, by their families. Okay, so this research aims to find out that what kind of psychological influence does this forced career choice make on these kids, how their psychological well-being gets disturbed. Now, if somebody asks you to do or ask you to choose one profession which will be with you for the rest of your life, so no, you have to become this, you have to become this, you have to become this, that kind of mindset. So kid is eventually following that, because at that point they may not have much of information, but back in the mind they're very sure that they don't want to do this. So this forced impact of career choices, how does it influence the psychological well-being of those kids? This is the aim of the example of the research which I'm taking on. So the research gap says that although a lot of researches have been conducted, so it has been seen that the university students have been forced to take career choices. Okay, this is a well-known fact in the literature also. Researchers have shown that they become depressed. Okay, but very limited researchers or no researchers have been able to find that what kind of socially withdrawn behavior they showcase. Okay, what kind of depression these kids go on, this has not been taken care of in the past research, and this is the research gap. Okay, so the research aim is that the proposed study aims to determine the experiences of the students who forced to take the certain career choice, and how these students feel when they are doing something which is not their choice but their parents' choice. Why it is important to study this topic, so that it can be shown to the world that yes, the kids are facing problems, yes, the kids are having a problem with they are getting psychologically disconnected, because when you are doing something which is not of your choice, you don't feel connected to others, you feel that everybody is your enemy. This is what has been identified. Okay, now why there is a need to identify the research gap, so that you're not working on something which has been already been done. Your research is unique, and the research gap should be clearly identified, that when you write it, whenever you write it, limited research, limited review is being found. Don't say that no research, because tomorrow there can be a chance that if reviewer or anybody can claim, no, 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 such researches are being done. So by saying limited, by writing it as limited literature review, always keeps you in a position where that if tomorrow anybody find out a related research. So you are in a position of saying that my language is already has been like limited research, that I may not been able to get on that research which has been on the similar topic. Okay, so just to be on the safer side, we use this language. Okay, how you can find these research gaps? So basically, what has been happening in your industry? When you say industry, what has been happening in your domain of research? What all are the mega trends? Okay, what is the recent literature? So you will be able to know that what has been happening latest. That means whatever is happening in the happened in the past, people must have already dwelled upon that, they have started working upon that. But what has been happening very latest is something which you can look for, which you can find out, and which you can explore for your own research. Okay, all right, let's go ahead. Now you have searched the research literature review, you have organized it, that you have decided that this is the way I will organize it. Now it's time for structuring your literature review. Okay, and this is a one of the, I'm not saying most difficult, but this is one of the difficult uh, step in your research journey, because you have ample of information by this time. When you are at the stage of structuring your literature review, you have ample of information. Now the question comes how to structure it. Okay, so firstly, you start with introduction. Introduction should focus on defining your topic. Let's say you're talking about early education, so talk about early education, talk about trainings in early education, talk about special needs of the kids, and then relate them. You got my point? So by the time your reader is done with the introduction of literature review, he has a clear understanding of these basic terminologies on which your entire research is based on: early education training, special needs of the kids, how these tools are important, how the training is important to take care of the kids, because you have discussed it. Now come to the main theory related to early education development, main theory related to child behavior. So here this main body section will come about the major theory and theoretical underpinnings of your literature review. Here in this part, you will talk about the major research literature review, wherein you have found out the different point of views of the authors from the past. This is what your major main body will talk about. Now conclusion is what all are the implications, your point of view and overall perspective. So it is basically, if there is an agreement or non-agreement from your point, like you will say that in my opinion, or don't say that in my opinion, the current study investigated that many authors are not on the same page of these trainings being effective in taking care of special child needs of the kids. So this is reflecting your perspective. So in conclusion, your point of view is important. So this question also have come to me many a times, that in literature review, do we require to give our point of view also as a researcher? Yes, you may give. So because your point of view will be reflected in various points, like when you will be connecting different studies. So these studies will be connecting, and the connectors will be your point of view. Okay. Okay, so this is the example of your literature review. So this is your introduction, and this is your main body and your conclusion. Just have a look on it. Okay. Now, when you talk about concluding the literature review, so firstly, the important aspect of the literature should be summarized. What is the current status of literature? what is happening right now in the literature, any gap you have found out, of course, the research gap, and the future of that study. Okay, all these points, that's why I have kept in a point for you. These points, all these points should be in your conclusion of the literature review. So even if you are generating your literature review with the help of AI, so your focus should be on these points, that it related to my topic, I'll be looking for the information on these aspects. Okay. All right. So again, this is the conclusion for your literature review. Mhm. Okay, now we come to summarizing literature review. So basically, when you have a lot of information with you, it becomes difficult to summarize it. However, although there are various softwares as well, however, one should know how to do it traditional ways as well. Moving on to the softwares. So you can do it. One way is you can do it with the help of that what particular study design the authors have done, what is the data collection tool they have used, what is the analysis method they have used, what was the study aim, what was the gap. So this is one way of summarizing a literature review. Another way is what is the purpose of the study and what are the main points of the theory. Okay, now these are the AI summarization tool I have given for your better understanding. So these are basically what all are the features they have given it all for your purpose. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Now this is how your summarized text look like. Once you have summarized it, once you have summarized it using any of the tools. So this is about detailed original text that study reveals 67 hijacked journal prompting concerns. Elsevier open response with a thorough investigation of the identified journals, hijacked journals. So this is a summarized way of the entire text, which is this original, and this is the summarized one. Okay, so once you get the PPTs, you can actually have a look on the original one and read out the summarized text as well. So you can see that how concise is how summarized text is, how concise and how brief it has been done. However, the major information, the theme of the original information is being shared here on the summarized text. Okay. Okay. Now, when we are talking about literature, there's no point we can avoid talking about plagiarism. No top point at all. Okay. Now, understand that when you talk about plagiarism, it is basically an act of copying somebody's language, somebody's idea, and somebody's content without giving the credit to the author. Very simple. This is plagiarism. So now, when you talk about AI generative text, this problem comes out very much. This problem comes out very much because many a time the AI does not give you the right references, or even it doesn't give you the references. Okay. Now, a couple of questions which are related to plagiarism. If I'm copying my own content, like if you have a previously discussed paper, if you have previously published paper, and if you are taking content from them, from that, yes, it is plagiarism. You have to cite your own name to avoid plagiarism in that. If you are copying the content but citing the source, again it is plagiarism, because unless and until you are citing the source, it is plagiarism. And plus you have directly copied the content, you have copied the content same as it is, which you cannot do. One thing to be mindful here, that if you are taking a definition, if you are taking a definition of a concept into your thesis from any of the previous literature, you can't change that definition. Okay, so there is no need to rephrase that definition. and that definition will come in inverted commas. Okay, that definition you will write it in inverted commas. So, definition you cannot rephrase. Plus, if there is any quotation, any quote said by somebody, that also you can't change. So, too many of definitions being taken will obviously give you a high plagiarism score or high plagiarism percentage. So, avoid taking too many of the definitions that will give you too much of plagiarism percentage, because you can't rephrase the definitions. Okay, last is not the least, but if I substitutes few words, then is a plagiarism? Yes. See, merely changing one or two word does not avoid plagiarism. Okay, because rephrasing or paraphrasing is an art. So you cannot have same language, but you cannot change the idea as well. Okay, that we'll discuss. Okay, so there are types of plagiarism. First is complete or global plagiarism, wherein you are completely copying somebody's work, okay, and you are representing it as your own. So, CCP, cut, copy, paste, presenting it your own, no acknowledgement. Okay. Paraphrasing plagiarism, which we just discussed, wherein you are just changing couple of words from the entire paragraph. That also a plagiarism. Mosaic plagiarism, that is, and one of the common one, partially paraphrasing other work without giving credit and representing it is in your own work. So you think that I have paraphrased it partially and now I can give it into my own name. Plagiarism. Self plagiarism, I told you that if you are copying your own work and not acknowledging your source, is self plagiarism. Okay. Now, these are some of the AI plagiarism checker tools wherein, see, once you have generated your work, like in this case, we are talking about literature review. Once we have generated the work and you don't know that which particular mm, software to go for in order to know the plagiarism score, in order to know the plagiarism percentage. So in that case you may go for any of these. Yeah, many they would require the subscription at a later stage, so I don't claim them as a free one. I'm saying these are the AI plagiarism checker tools. Okay, so they may require you to subscribe after checking for plagiarism for one or two content, or probably a limited length of the content, then you may have to go for subscription as well. Okay, now you know plagiarism is there. Now the question comes, how to avoid it? Okay, now the point is, first of all, quoting the source is one of the most important way of avoiding or reducing plagiarism. Wherever you lack, wherever you do not have any source quoted, be mindful that you are going to get the plagiarism. So, citations and bibliography is very, very important. That's why I told you softwares like Zotero and Mendeley you can use. For instance, there are many more as well, in order to manage your references so that you don't lose the track of any of the references at the later stage when you are writing your literature. So there may be high chances when you do not have any hold of your referencings. So there are high chances that you may lose track of them, and you may get into the trap of plagiarism. Okay, then paraphrasing and summarizing. Obviously, paraphrasing, basically what happen is when you are when you are keeping the main idea of the author intact. See, you can't change what the other author is meant to say, but you can change the language. The same thing said in a different way is paraphrasing. That is one of the biggest way of avoiding plagiarism. Okay, so you always maintain a folder of your work. Next is make sure that you copy and save your URL when you are working with internet sources. Keep a track of your internet sources. Okay, and then do not cut, copy and paste. That's golden rule. That's a thumb rule, that please do not cut, copy and paste. Okay. Okay, now these are some of the best paraphrasing tools for to avoid AI detection. Let's say, for example, you have taken your information from um, internet and you want to avoid the AI. So, how to paraphrase that information? How to paraphrase that content taken from internet, from AI? So, these are some of the tools, paraphrasing tools, so that which you can use in order to paraphrase your content. Okay. Okay. Now, exactly when you talk about paraphrasing, how your paraphrasing works, what does it actually does to your work? For instance, you have taken an original text that the task of engineer is to produce the correct product at the correct cost at the correct time. It has been stated by some author in 1977. So focus on one thing, that there are a couple of words which you cannot change. Engineer, you cannot change. Okay, the word product you might would not like to change. Okay, then how can you paraphrase, keeping the meaning of this particular line same as it is? It can be Fox 1977 states that an engineer needs to come up with right product, so this correct is been as right product at the right time. So this right time was after correct cost, which has been taken before, and at a reasonable price. So here correct cost was completely changed to reasonable price. Now these two sentences mean the same thing, but structurally, English wise, they are different. Okay. Similarly, the next one, if a product misses its window of opportunity, the manufacturer can lose up to 33% of the life cycle profits, said by Elder in 2002. Now let's rephrase it. According to Alder, now these underlined text is the rephrased one. According to Alder, or Alder 2002 claims that 33%, because this figure cannot be changed, 33% of the profits can be lost if a product is not marketed correctly. Now, see, if a product misses its window of opportunity, now this window of opportunity is being well understood by the researcher. Obviously, when you review the entire literature very well, it's been well understood by the researcher that it means that the product did not market correctly. So, this is how you use the correct language in order to paraphrase the content. Okay. Now, referencing, as I told you, is one of the most important way of avoiding plagiarism. There are different styles of referencing. I have taken a couple of them, and I'll tell you that when you are doing in-text referencing and when you are doing in-text citation, how in each style of these referencings can be done. The first is American Psychological Association. So, see, if you can see that I have given the rule of given the referencing at the end, that it should be having surname of the author, it should have initial of the first name, it should have initial of the middle name, followed by the other details. And if you can see, the referencing is being done by the same way. Okay. Next is how to do the in-text referencing in APA style. Only the surname, comma the year, and bracket closed. That's it. Okay, this is how you do the referencing. And again, when you talk about Vancouver style, I given the same rule, and with one of the example here. And what you do in Vancouver style is when you are referencing at the end, right? So what you do is you mark them, number them 1 2 3 4, so that number only serve as the in-text citation. So fourth referencing and for number only will serve as the in-text citation. You assign the each number to the referencing, and within the text that number is only used to cite it. Okay? Okay. Now, Chicago style, again, author last name, first name, year, title of article, name of journal, number, issue, and rest of the details. Example is here. So when you are doing an in-text citation, here you're using the author's last name and the year. Okay. Now, in terms of modern language association, which is MLA, again, last name, first name, year, title, name of journal, year, and pages. Okay. Now, here, last name is there. Okay. And the page number without punctuation. The page number is basically on where it is being cited. Okay. Without the punctuation, there is no comma. Okay. All right. Now, when you talk about what are the different points to focus in referencing, so there should be no grammatical errors. Okay. There should be no sources from Wikipedia, that for sure. And when you are doing the internet sources, so basically .com is used for commercial site, .edu for educational site, and similarly like for others. Because see, like I told you, that you're not only taking data from the published sources, you're taking also from the digital spaces as well. So these URLs should be marked correctly. Okay. All right. Now it's time for your questions for all of us. Okay. Now, please explain how much should be the literature review while writing synopsis. Now, see, understand, Preeti, synopsis is a summarized way of your thesis, summarized form of your thesis. Okay. Now, in that, we cannot have as much as literature in which we do in our thesis, right? So, if your synopsis generally is of 8 to 10 pages, so try to focus on the important theories and the frameworks and the models which are not defining these literature in a story wise, but important literature which you think should be focused and should which you think your reviewer should know. So one and a half page would be okay. Olive dream, as I told you, depends upon the project you are doing. If it's a review paper, research paper, or its thesis, depends upon the project you're doing. Yeah, please, others also, please write your questions here. Everybody, please feel free to drop in your questions. Anything related to your literature, if you're facing any concerns, if you're facing any problem to your literature search, anything. Yes, Preeti, please tell me. Feel free to write, Preeti. Preeti, I hope I'm waiting for your question. I hope you're writing for the question. I'm waiting for it. Others, please feel free to type in your questions. Guys, please drop in your questions. If there is a research of one author and he's quoting another person and we want to mention that research, then which author? You'll be mentioning both. Yes. How do we do that? Good question, Preeti. Um, when you are working on a literature review and you find out there is a research content review which is being taken by some X research by the author which you are reviewing, so you will be quoted like this. You'll be mentioning, you'll be citing first that author, then you'll write as quoted by, then the original one. This will be the in-text citation, and when you'll be doing the referencing, you'll be doing the original referencing first, then you'll write in the last the new references from which you have taken. So you'll be referencing both. Thank you, Dr. Amit. Thank you so much. Style. Yeah, see, the Shardul, which style of referencing you want to use, basically, that is being depending generally. Let's say, for example, today, APA 7th edition, Harvard style referencing is very common. And also, in your mass communication and journalism, like, for example, if you're writing for a particular journal, so that journal will specify which style of referencing you should do. If you're working for your thesis, your university institution will specify which style of referencing you should do. Okay. We want to do for force URAC. Um, see, that depends upon your Neeraj, that depends upon your domain of research. So I can't restrict the number of review papers or the number of um, uh, journals. I can't do that. Okay. If your research area is too vast, so you may get too many literature sources. Is prefer Bipana, that again, like my answer should be same as Shardul. That depends upon what you are writing, where you are submitting. So wherever you are submitting, they will tell you their preferred style of referencing to you, and you will do that. Okay. How much literature should be used for literature review? Again, see, I think this answer should be common to all of you. Understand. See, if you are working on a PhD thesis, you may work on reviewing 200, 300, 400, 500, 800 reviews as well, till 800 literature sources you cannot. But how many of are your use? That depends. That can be 100, that can be 120, that can be even 80, that can be 200. So Shardul, somebody told you 50. Now, just by reviewing 50 sources, you can do your PhD thesis, can be true, provided, if you see, understand, reviewing literature, that is 50, but all of those 50 are of your use, that is not sure. So you need to finally see that, is all of my literature sources, let's say I reviewed 50, are going to be my use. So in order to find out and in order to finalize those 50 sources, you have to at least review around 100, 120. Okay. Now if you are talking about some other research, like if you're writing a paper, if you're writing research paper, then it can be, yeah, then it can be, in that case it is okay. You're welcome, Preeti. Guys, please type in your questions as well. Shardul, yes, from any of, see, you mentioned in your thesis the ones from where you have taken the idea, in short, you have taken the content from, not the alls you have reviewed. Like I said, you must have gone through 120 journals, but all those information or the information from all those 120 journals may not be used in your thesis. So all of them would not be quoted. The ones you have taken the information and the content for your thesis purpose will be quoted. Yeah, it's okay. You see, if you have taken information from 100, yes. And thesis, research thesis, when you're talking about, so 100 is not a big number. Not at all. But see, let me tell you, everybody, don't limit these numbers in your mind that I'll go for 50 or 80 or 200 or 100. No, don't limit them. Just focus on your literature search first. It can be 50, it can be 70, it can be 170. You never know. Okay. Yes, please. Anybody else have a question? In the field of journalism, Shardul, I am talking irrespective you're from journalism or anybody from biotechnology. Again, I'm saying understand literature review. No research supervisor, no research guide will tell you that do your thesis on the basis of 100 literature sources. We can't limit these sources. We can't actually put across that how many number of literature sources will actually make your research thesis. No. Okay, thank you, Vipna. You got my point. So irrespective, any field you are talking about, any field, it majorly depends upon the topic which you have chosen firstly, and then the available literature sources. If the topic is too narrow and you don't have even 50 resources on which you can work on, then there's no question of 100 literature sources in the point. But if the topic is too broad and there is enough literature working on, so you may cross the mark of 200 also. So you one can't say that you can only work on 50 or 70 or any given number. In starting, you can't define. Yes, Neeraj, yes. The answer is yes. Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you. I hope your query is sorted. Okay. So just don't have a set number of literature sources in your mind. Anyways, 100 is a good number, 50 is a good number, right? Thank you so much, Seema. It's always good to see the regular attendees in these webinars. Thank you so much. Actually, literature review is a soul of research work, which many scholars don't understand it. But a rightly conducted literature review can be the strong backbone for your research. Yes, very well stated. Very well. So, if no more any questions, so then we'll take a call from today's webinar, and you all will be notified for the next webinar very soon, and the topic for it also. We'll see you soon. All of you will see you soon. All right. Thank you for the time. Take care of yourself, and be punctual for your researches and be rigid for your researches. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.